Loads of goals in the Premier League this weekend. I think there was 34 in total, but still, obviously, the big one to come tomorrow. Clive, good evening to you. What about the results today? Chelsea 6, QPR 1, and Spurs 2, Blackburn 0. Not very good for the teams at the bottom.
Well, I can see, I think Mark Hughes would be down on his knees tonight. He's got major problems. I think there's still a tremendous struggle at the bottom of the division, of the Premier Division. Well, I can see Blackburn going down, obviously with Wolves, and I'm afraid QPR won't be far behind them.
Why do you think QPR's last 2 games are too tough?
Yeah, I think so. I think today's result was a stinging result to them.
Yeah. What about yourself, James?
Pardon?
Jamie?
I think I agree. Two massive results down there at the bottom today. Blackburn, I mean, if I can say this, the first team since December of 2004 not to manage a single shot in a Premier League game, and that was made by West Bromwich Albion versus Manchester City. I mean, for a club of, I mean, they're not a massive club, Blackburn Rovers, but for a club of their stature, it's simply not good enough, I don't think. And QPR have obviously just absolutely capitulated against Chelsea today, and probably made a lot worse by the fact that it's just their local rivals as well, of course, just down the road.
The thing is, well, Jamie, that Blackburn have scored more goals than probably half the division. So you'd expect them, I mean, that stat of not having a shot, I mean, not even having an attempt, I think nothing blocked or anything like that, I mean, is astounding in the position they are in.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, I can remember saying to friends of mine sort of throughout the Christmas period, because they've got Yakubu, they'll probably be all right because he's obviously, you know, you can guarantee a goal when he comes along. But it's really not looking good for them now, Mark, I don't think.
No, not at all. Eniola, good evening to you. Birmingham City ladies striker. Did you play today?
I didn't, actually. The game got called off.
Why?
Waterlogged pitch. Been enjoying the football all day. Had a nice, relaxing Sunday.
Were you impressed with Chelsea? Unstoppable, aren't they?
Oh, they are. I mean, after Wednesday's performance, or Tuesday's performance, I mean, they must be on a high. The result today looked great. Torres looks back to himself. So, you know, I think from now to the end of the season, it'll be interesting to see how well Chelsea do.
Well, you know as a player as well, you know, obviously big game coming up at the weekend with the FA Cup final. On the 19th, got the Champions League final. Players don't want to get injured, but there was a lot of commitment out there today, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of commitment. They looked dangerous going forward. I mean, a lot of the players will be disappointed that they're going to be missing the Champions League final. But they've got the FA Cup final coming up. They've got league games, very important league games. I think one against Newcastle coming up. Yeah,
they've got Newcastle in midweek, haven't they?
Yeah, so, you know, players obviously will be looking to preserve themselves, but obviously they've got very important games coming up as well, so they need to be available.
Well, can I just ask Clive, did you see the tackle on Juan Mata by Joey Barton? No,
I didn't, actually, but I know Joey Barton is, well, he's a very, very difficult fella to control, you know, in the field of play. I'm afraid a lot of things go to his head a bit, and he feels like, do you remember, no, you may not, Mark, but they had a player, Stan Bowles,
yes,
played at QPR many years ago.
Very skillful.
Wow, brilliant, brilliant footballer. But all of a sudden, he would do something stupid on the field, or a player would tackle him in a hard manner, and he'd just lose his head. He'd go after the player, I'm afraid.
There are lots of players like that, though, aren't there? I mean, we've had these problems with Balotelli already this season, and you could say Carlos Tevez to much of the extent just going away for a 5-month holiday.
Yeah, the trouble with these are the players that are brilliant players, brilliant individual players, and it's just something goes wrong with them, and you know, I tried controlling them on the field of play when I was refereeing. You try and cool them down, and you just can't do it. You just can't get through to them. And that's a problem, obviously, for the managers.
Well, it's a fantastic run that Chelsea are having, and Roberto Di Matteo was impressed with his side's performance.
It always proves difficult to play in the Premier League after a Champions League game. And I have to say they have surprised me as well today, the way they played and the energy that we had and the drive and the motivation for this game.
Jamie, do you think he's the right man for the job?
Hey, Di Matteo?
Yeah,
absolutely, 100% yes. I think from somebody who comes from outside of the Chelsea fraternity, if you like, he comes across as a really, really likeable bloke. Apart from the fact that he scored the winning goal in the 2000 FA Cup final against us, I've got quite a lot of time for the man. He's done a fantastic job there. You know, he's turned Chelsea's league form around, but the important thing is, as we all know, what Abramovich wants, he wants the Champions League. And I think even the most optimistic of Chelsea supporters wouldn't have had the gall to even dream about how those ties would have ended.
Yeah.
So yes, definitely. I definitely think he should be given the job. Definitely.
It's 8 Premier League games under Di Matteo with only 1 defeat, and that defeat I think came to Manchester City. So, credentials.
It's a fantastic turnaround, considering the disarray that the club were in just a couple of weeks ago under Andre Villas-Boas. To turn it around now, I mean, they are 90 minutes away from winning Europe's biggest prize, and let's not forget next weekend, of course, the FA Cup final against Liverpool. I mean, there could be a double on for them there.
Clive, there was an incident today in the Spurs game where the people weren't sure if the ball had crossed the line or not, and the referee gave it the officials gave it, and in the end it turned out to be the right decision. But did you see it?
Yes.
You are?
Yeah, I think, Mark, I'm a little fed up with all this. Not you, say, bringing this up, but it's happening to too many of our matches at the moment. And Sepp Blatter can't be sleeping. Sepp Blatter, being the president of FIFA, can't be sleeping, and haven't slept, I don't think, for the last 10 years. Because I've written to him 10, 12 years ago and suggested technology then. I'm now in a point demanding technology. I know they're going to try something out in the next couple of weeks.
Yes, they are.
On a Hawkeye thing. But, you know, Sepp Blatter is against it. And the reason he's against it, Mark, is probably most people know anyway, but he's against it because he sees it as 17 laws of the game, and 17 laws are played, never mind if you're playing a match at Wembley or kicking a ball up at the mountain up in Wales.
Part of me likes that, though, that the man who plays Sunday morning football is playing the same game under the same rules as the guy who's playing in the Premier League on the Saturday or the Sunday. I mean, if you're looking down the leagues, in the Premier League, we can say we can afford that. Goal line technology, yes, we can have that. Fantastic. Will it happen in the Championships? Will it happen in League Ones and League Twos? I don't think it will, because I don't think you've got to have the cost of it all being done. There's got to be a 5th official sitting in the side, in the stand, who's going to have a look at the monitor and say yes or no. And I think that's why Sepp Blatter wants to avoid that, because I think the next move is: do we do offsides? Do we do free kick? Do we do tackles what haven't been seen, or off the ball incidents? And I think it's never ending. The game's based on its flow and its continuing, and it's its pace.
Mark, hold on now. There's tears coming to my eyes when you start talking like that. That's not.
Have you got a hanky? Has anyone got a hanky?
I have, in fact. Here.
There you go.
No, what I say is that it'll only be on technology on goal judging. There's not a cat in hell's chance of it being used on offsides, free kicks or anything else. And for Sepp Blatter to say, and coming back to the Premier League or the First Division, it will be used in the Premier League. I have no doubts that the next World Cup, it will be technology on goal line judging.
Let me bring Jamie in here. Jamie, if it starts with goal line technology, do we then move to offsides?
It's an interesting question that you raised, and it was one that I was thinking about while you were talking about it. The question I would ask here is, where does the game stop? I mean, every week we see somebody in a debatable offside situation, and the debate runs off long into the night, into the next day, for however much longer. Where would the game stop? You know, do you let the field of play go on if we think that there's an element of doubt that the player might be onside? You know, do we let a goal be scored, let him go off and celebrate with his fans? And let's just say a metaphorical situation today, 89th minute, QPR score to go 1-0 up against Chelsea. There is a debate that, say, Joey Barton is offside. When does the game stop for that offside decision to be looked at? That's my issue with it.
Yeah. OK, well, that'll be a debate we talk about for many, many weeks. But let's talk about the big game on Monday. Manchester City, Manchester United at the Etihad. Eniola, what are your thoughts?
I think the last time I came on the show, we talked about the Manchester City manager Mancini sort of playing down his chances of Man City getting anywhere to winning the title. We're now in a situation where we're talking about Man City, Man United fighting for the title. So, you know, it's interesting that game is going to be almost a title decider. And Manchester City, have quietly sort of playing down their chances, but I think they've got a very big chance of beating Man United on Monday.
Got a fantastic chance. I mean, both managers saying, Alex Ferguson saying they're favourites if they win, and Roberto Di Matteo saying they're favourites if they win. Alex, what's your view on it?
Whoever wins the game will go on to win the title. I think we shouldn't also forget that a draw would suit United and Fergie down to the ground, so that's an extra dynamic. I think the game will be tight early on because of that. But obviously, we'll have to have a go because we desperately need to win that game to have any chance. So,
have you ever seen Sir Alex Ferguson play for a draw?
Oh, I think there's playing for a draw, and then there's playing conservatively. You know, 5 in midfield, and you know, if it gets half time 0-0, he'll be very, very pleased with that. And then you see as the game goes on, because they've got so much talent going forward that you always fancy you can score a goal on the break or build some pressure for 5 minutes and maybe score that way. But nevertheless, they won't be going, you know, gung ho on it because they wouldn't want to concede goals on the break like they did in the game at Old Trafford earlier in the season. Well,
Edward is a Manchester United fan living in South Africa. Edward, Man City, I think they've scored 12 goals in their last 3 games. It seems like they've come back to form, Aguero and Tevez up front. Are you worried? Be honest.
No, I'm not too worried. I don't agree that they've actually come back to form. I think they laboured to a victory against Wolves. I don't think they were particularly well, and I think our defenders can keep Aguero and Tevez quiet on Monday.
They laboured to a win. Who did they beat? They beat West Bromwich Albion 4-0, Norwich 6-1.
I wasn't impressed. I don't think they're back to the form that they were at. I think they've got a lot of tired players. They've come out and got a few results to get them back into the title race, but I don't think it was the victories that they wanted.
Well, Manchester United have had 1 win in the last 3. Manchester City have had 3 wins out of 3. That's why the gap's closed. Jamie, Manchester United or Man City?
I'm going to sit on the fence and say it's going to be a draw.
Oh, don't sit on the fence. We can get loads of people to sit on the fence.
Manchester United. I think it'll be Manchester United. I think they've got the players these players know they know the pressure, they know the responsibility. Ryan Giggs will be playing in his 36th Manchester derby if he plays tomorrow night. I think United will edge it.
Edge it. Alex and Edward. Alex first, quickly, scoreline.
3-1 City.
3-1 City. Edward.
3-0 United.
3-0 United. Please. Eniola, scoreline for you?
Oh, I think it's going to be 2-1 United.
2-1 United. OK, well, lots more chat with us. Stay with us on Sports World. Have your say. Eniola, what about this 4th place? Do you think Spurs win today? They've clinched it?
Well, I think, you know, I think their performance today was very, very comfortable, although Blackburn didn't even come out to play. But, you know, the 4th place is looking tricky, particularly if Chelsea win the Champions League. So it's really going to have to be 3rd place, isn't it, that they're shooting for.
Big game for Newcastle coming up this week with Chelsea.
Yeah, big game, but I think, you know, the pressure's certainly on Newcastle because they're above to win that game. But then, like I said, Chelsea are in top form. If they can pull out performances like that against Barcelona, then any team in their way is gonna find it difficult, really. OK,
stay with me, Eniola. We'll be right back after this. Well, let's talk about this title race then. Obviously, Manchester United, Manchester City. I think it's brilliant for the game. I think for the neutral as well, looking at it. But you know, there's something in me, you know, Jimmy, that says it's Manchester City's time. Eniola?
Yeah, well, I think you've got a point. I think Man City obviously have got the players to do it. I think they've got a manager who is very, very focused on getting his team to do what he wants them to do. However, Man United, you know, they've been in this situation many, many times and have had experience of winning titles. So that's going to probably tip them in the way. Yeah. Do you think he'll play Balotelli? No. I think a game as important as this, you know, he probably looked to put Balotelli on the bench and play somebody else because it's just too risky. OK, well, I think Tevez and Aguero will do it for me. We'll be right back.
Who do you think the strikers will be for Manchester United? Do you think he'll stay with Rooney and Welbeck? Eniola?
Sorry, Mark, say that again?
Who do you think the strikers will be? Welbeck, Rooney?
Welbeck and Rooney, I think from the basis of the last performance, that, you know, they're playing almost like the Dwight York and Andy Cole partnership from old. They look very good together, and I think that's a deadly that's a deadly partnership going forward that has a lot of goals in them. So, Alex,
Balotelli for you? Would you bring him back? He scored a lot of goals.
No, I mean, it's certainly nothing to do with the problems we've had. I think Mario's a wonderful player and he scored goals, important goals, not least at the 6-1 game earlier in the season. But, you know, you said yourself, we scored 12 times in the last 3 outings, and that's because Tevez and Aguero have been sensational. So we're not going to overthink this. We're not going to mess with the winning formula. It'll be those two, and I think they're the right two for the job.
What do you make of the mind games, though? Because Mancini says, no, it's all down to Manchester United, and Fergie said, no, it's all Man City's. What's all that about?
Yeah, I mean, it's a load of nonsense, isn't it? It's a big parlour game. I'd love to know when the point in the manager handbook that says, you know, you need to talk your team up all season, up until this point, in which case you start the reverse psychology. They're cleverer than me on that. But, no, I mean, I think Mancini... It was funny after the Arsenal game when we were terrible. I was at the Emirates that day. We were awful. And obviously, he didn't want to say it was over, but I thought it was over. So he sort of said, oh, I don't know. Then we have a sensational result in midweek and United lose, and we are sort of back in it. So he said, oh, no, it's definitely over. Yeah. And then obviously United struggled against Everton. We won again. And oh, no, it's definitely over. So goodness knows what he'll say if we win tomorrow. Which I think, well, I know exactly what he'll say. No, United have got 2 easy games. Newcastle away is very difficult. So I think whatever happens, he'll be ruling us out, but I don't think it means anything.
Clive, as a referee, former referee, how do you deal with someone like Mario Balotelli?
Well, I'm glad you asked me about the, not only about him, but the game itself. You see, Mark, this is not a big game, it's a massive game. These local derbies between Manchester City and Manchester United, just like Liverpool and Everton, and I've refereed probably most games during my period of refereeing. And one game in particular was a Manchester City-Manchester United game. And I don't know if you're aware of it, but it was 1974 now, and I'm refereeing the game, and after about 20 minutes, the game was played at Main Road, and after about 20 minutes, Lou McCarty gets into a tackle with Mike Doyle, and Lou was brought down. So I go to and as I go to both of them, there's the fists start flying. So I thought, right, okay, you two off. So I said to Lou, you're right, Lou, you get off, and to Mike Doyle, you get off. And they both, Mike Doyle said, look, Clive, you're spoiling the game. Let's get on with the match. And I just took no notice of me. And Lou McCarty said, hey, the 47,000 people have come to watch the game. Thomas, not you. And he turns around and gets, and just takes no notice. So I'm standing in the middle of the field. Those two have walked away. So what do? So what I did, I picked the ball up, blew the whistle, and said, right, we all go off. We all went off, got it on the loudspeaker that I would be back on within 5 minutes, and went into the 2 dressing rooms, stopped Lou coming back on, and stopped Mike Doyle, and restarted the game. Never in the history of football has that happened.
Clive, do you think Andrew Mariner will be doing that tomorrow?
Well, I hope to goodness he doesn't do it, Mark.
What do you think of him? What do you think of him as a referee?
But I think he's a fair referee, but I don't think much of the referees today. I'm sorry to say that. We haven't got standard, disciplined referees. But
I don't think that's fair to say, because when I was playing, you could talk to the referees, and sometimes they say that's your last one, off you go. But now the managers want consistency, and if they keep talking to people and saying that's your last one, we're not getting the consistency. I think they're trying to conform.
Yeah, of course. What these referees are doing today, they're more concerned about the person in the stand, who is the assessor. The assessor then, see, they haven't got this unwritten 18th law, which is the common sense one. They can't bring that into fruition. The referees can't do it because they stopped doing it. And me refereeing today, I could never do it.
Okay, Eniola, how do you find the referees in the ladies' football?
Oh, in ladies' football, I think it's the same as men's. You get your inconsistencies. You get the decisions that sometimes tip in the favour of the bigger teams. But then it swings and roundabouts. Sometimes you get the decisions that you never should have got. For instance, as a striker, sometimes I've had penalties that I think, wow, that's a bit of a soft decision. But I think ultimately referees have a very tough job, particularly in the Premiership and at high levels of the game, where you've got managers and players and fans all expecting you to get it right, and it's all happening so quickly. And I think people need to remember that. But obviously they're paid, they're paid to get it right, and I think more times than not, referees do get it right.
Yeah, well said. What a great week we had for Champions League, didn't we? I mean, I thought personally two of the best semi-finals I can remember seeing. Ricardo Lopez writes on sportsworld.com, unjust, cruel, horrible, unmerited. Any objective is not enough to define the incredible elimination of Barca at the hands of Chelsea. Few times has a team done so much to deserve to reach the Champions League final of that of Guardiola, and rarely has a rival with so little gain that very prize. I think that's a little bit strong, isn't it? I mean, Jamie, we saw that down to 10 men, you have to do what you have to do.
Well, I think as well, the latter stages of the Champions League, it's a knockout competition, so it's anybody's game on the day, as cliched as that is to say. At the end of the day, over 180 minutes against Chelsea, Barcelona simply didn't do enough. So no, I don't agree with that at all. Chelsea with the better side, and just like to say, I'm very, very happy for Fernando Torres at the end of the game. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, well, joining us is Miguel, who is a Barca fan, lives in Chile. Miguel, obviously disappointed that you went out, but did you deserve to win?
Ooh, tough one. I think we should have. Yes, definitely.
You should have won.
Yeah, I mean, we had more control, greater control of the ball, and Barcelona did a lot more than Chelsea. I mean, Chelsea was lucky, but I mean, they put up a good game, but Barcelona certainly deserved to make it to the final round.
You've got to say, over 2 games, I think that's a pure test. I think that you can be lucky in 1 game, but not over 2 games. And I think Chelsea got what they deserved. I went to the game at the Bridge, thought they deserved it on that night, and then away from home, Barcelona didn't have a plan B.
Well, I mean, Barcelona stuck to its game all along, right? And they've been very clear about it. They didn't change their plan. You're right. They stuck to their game, and Chelsea again also did the same thing. They put all their people in the defense, and they stood there and they scored with their counterattack. But I mean, Chelsea, you're right. Chelsea deserves to be where they are, but I think Barcelona also.
Okay, Miguel. Well, we'll be talking lots and lots about the Premier League and the European Championships right after this break. Hello and welcome to Sports World Have Your Say. I'm Mark Bright. We're talking about the fallout from this week's Champions League semi-finals. What did you feel about Chelsea defeating Barcelona? Does it really matter if you win ugly? What's your response to Guardiola going? And the ball that Sergio Ramos launched into orbit, has it come down in your back garden yet? Post on facebook.com Sports World Have Your Say, or tweet with the hashtag SWHYS to get involved with the conversation. You can add us on Skype as well. Skype name SportsWHYS. Join us from Birmingham, Eniola Aluku, who's a striker. But first of all, let's get a summary of the latest news.
From the BBC World Newsroom, at least 16 people have been killed in an attack on a church service in the Nigerian city of Kano. The emergency services said there were 3 blasts followed by gunfire at the Bulawayo University. Dozens of students were taking part in the church service at the time of the attack. The UN Syria mission chief is in Damascus. Norwegian Major General Robert Mood made an appeal for cooperation. His visit comes as violence is reported in the city of Homs. Libya's former oil minister has been found dead in the Austrian capital, Vienna. According to the foreign ministry, the body of Shukri Ghanem was found floating in the river Danube earlier today. A Red Cross doctor who was kidnapped in Pakistan has been killed by his captors. Dr. Khalil Rasjid Dale was abducted from the city of Quetta in January, but he said his body was found on Sunday morning. The Chinese authorities have stepped up their action against associates of the blind activist Chen Guangcheng, who escaped from house arrest last week. His fellow dissident, Hu Jia, was questioned by the police for 24 hours. Mr. Chen's brother and nephew have already been detained as part of what appears to be a wider crackdown.
Right, we've got Beth, Miguel and God. Let's start with you, Beth, a Chelsea fan in Texas. Must be delighted.
I'm thrilled. I'm beyond thrilled. And I'm sorry if the rules of the game are that we have to play Barcelona's style of football, then those are rules that I've never heard of.
We're all finished, aren't we? If you have to play that style of football, nobody can do it. But is it just about winning? It's a cup tournament.
Yeah, you're right. It is a cup, and it is a tournament, and it is a knockout over 2 legs. And as far as I understand the rules, that means you're supposed to play to win. Robbie Di Matteo put out a side, developed a strategy that put us through. Pep Guardiola had the first half team talk at the Bridge. He had a week between the games, and he had another halftime team talk to figure out another alternative, and he didn't do it. He stuck to his guns. That doesn't make that smart. That makes that something else. Robbie figured out a way to do them, and he didn't have a plan B. I'm sorry.
No, Miguel, Barca fan. I know it's called the beautiful game. I know how we like to see it played, but is Beth right? It's just about winning.
No, I disagree a little bit. I give him that Chelsea indeed did have a very solid team. They put a solid plan up, and it was a brilliant plan, to be honest. Barcelona doesn't go forward, I think, because they made a few mistakes in the game, and the mistakes were like a matter of precision and timing and how they were playing their game that day. In both instances, it's not just in those games. It's been happening in the last month, I think, and those little mistakes are what didn't let Barcelona score the goals that they could have scored. But truth is, they hit the ball, and that ball didn't go in because they didn't want to several times in Stamford Bridge, and the same thing happened in Camp Nou. So their strategy worked, but there was just minor errors they committed, and in a game like that, the one with less errors is the one that wins, and Chelsea made the less errors.
But I have to say, though, Beth, I don't know if you agree, the best player in the world was on the football pitch, and really, he didn't stand out to me. Lionel Messi.
He never has.
I wouldn't say he never has.
Well, he never has against Chelsea. I've never seen Messi have a good game against Chelsea. I don't know if it's a mental thing for him. I don't know if we have his number, as they say. But name a game that he's played against Chelsea. I mean, he is a fantastic player, and I'll never, never say anything, against that. But he never seems to have a great game against Chelsea.
Beth, do you believe that, when Chelsea had all those penalty appeals turned down, was it under Jose, and no one can understand why against Barcelona, and then now they've gone through, do you kind of feel like it's balanced itself out a little bit?
I think that's what football's all about. You get bad calls, you get good calls. At the end of the day, over time, it balances out. It's no different than life. That's why it's called the beautiful game, because it is like life. Sometimes you're handed horrible, bad stuff. Sometimes you get luck, and you have to take what you're given and do the best with what you've got.
Exactly, and down to 10 men for over 45 minutes, deserved it. Now you're going to play Bayern Munich in the final. God is a Bayern Munich fan. Good evening, God. Are you worried from what you saw?
I wouldn't say worried, but I'm really, really, really looking forward to a clash of different styles, having the first game in the Champions League final for 28 years played at home, the first one under current format. A really, really good showing from Chelsea, but I think they had a bit of luck, a bit of margins, and they had so against Napoli too. And although their game plan was brilliant and really worked out, and
are you there, God? Oh, well, we'll try and get God back, actually. Miguel, I want to ask about Pep Guardiola. A lot of people are saying, obviously, it's very sad that he's going to leave football, but, he's shirking the biggest challenge, and the biggest challenge is to rebuild his team. Do you agree?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
I'm just saying that it's obviously Guardiola's going to leave at the end of the season, and a lot of people are saying it's obviously a great shame. But looking at it, you know, is he frightened? Is he shrieking the challenge to rebuild his team?
Nah, I don't think he's afraid of anything. This is a guy, he's definitely not afraid to make big decisions. And leaving is a big decision by itself. I don't think he's afraid. I think he just really is worn out.
He's worn out? Well, Sir Alex Ferguson's been managing Manchester United for 20 seasons. I think Arsene Wenger's, into 10, 12 seasons? They aren't worn out.
Well, all right. So I don't know much about Ferguson and how long he's been. I mean, if he was a player before, what I do know is that Guardiola has been in the game for a very long time. He's been with the club since a child. He played. He was captain of the team. Then he managed the B level, and then now this. He feels the sport differently. And again, not that others don't feel it. They definitely feel it. But this is a guy who's been very passionate about the sport and extremely passionate about Barcelona itself as a club. So I can see him. It's not just a matter of 4 years, but after a longer streak than that.
Eniola, great manager, just giving himself a break for a year, or shirking responsibility to rebuild his team?
Well, I think, first of all, I think we've got to remember that a lot of the time with big managers, and this was certainly the case with Jose Mourinho, they're not actually allowed to move on. It's a matter of contract that they can't actually move on to another club for a matter of years after they leave. So he probably almost has to take a break in a sense. But, you know, he's done everything he possibly can. Let's not get carried away here. This is a guy who's won 13 championships in a matter of years with Barcelona. He's done everything. He's won everything that can possibly be won. So in a sense, he's probably entitled to say, right, okay, I've taken the team to where I need to get to, and I'm moving on. With respect to,
not sure where you move on when you've won the World Club Championships, the Champions League trophy, La Liga.
Exactly.
It's doing it again and again and again. But can I just give you a bit of breaking news, everybody, that West Bromwich Albion have given the FA permission to speak to Roy Hodgson about the vacant England manager's position. That's been confirmed. That's breaking news. Eniola, are you surprised because everybody thought it was going to be Harry?
I'm not surprised because I think Roy Hodgson was always a name that was sort of discussed. He fits the bill in the sense of massive experience, very well-respected manager. But I think, in a sense, it's a surprise that maybe they're conceding that Harry's not interested in the job or he's not going to take the job. So that might be surprising to some people.
Jamie, it doesn't say anything here about Harry Redknapp, but it doesn't say that he's not included. Do you think they'll be seeking permission off Spurs to speak to Harry as well?
I would imagine so, yes. I mean, it's like any job, isn't it? In any profession, they'll want to look at the best options and all the options that are available to them. Just on what you're saying there about Hodgson, I think that's absolutely fantastic news, and I'm glad that the FA are going down that route. I think he'd be a great choice if he was offered the job.
Yeah, Clive, are you there? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's brilliant news as well. I think Hodgson, he's got so much to offer. Mm-hmm. I think he could steady the ship at the FA headquarters as well. He's a person that's not only knowing about football, his management skills are exceptional and understanding of players.
Yeah.
And I have great respect for the person.
Well, I remember speaking to Paul Ince, who played under Roy Hodgson at Inter Milan, and saying that he inspired him as a coach. Yeah. I think Paul Ince wanted to go into coaching because of working with Roy Hodgson, because how efficient he is. But you'd have to say that Liverpool fans will be looking at this and saying, oh, not too sure about Roy Hodgson for England.
Are you speaking to me now, Mark?
I'm speaking to you, Clive.
Oh, right, I'm sorry, yeah, well, of course they would. You didn't do all that well at Liverpool, but Liverpool is not an easy club to control and manage because of the history of it. But I think as an England manager, I think he'll do every bit as good as what Harry would. If Harry's going to be offered the position, I don't know. OK,
Alex is a Manchester City fan. He joins us from Salford now. Roy Hodgson, the FA have asked permission to speak to Roy Hodgson to West Bromwich Albion. What are your thoughts on that, Alex?
Well, it's a surprise, but I guess it's not a shock when you think about it. I mean, I actually hope, I love Roy Hodgson. I think he's a brilliant manager. You know, cast our eyes back to Euro '96 when England were held to a draw by his Swiss side, one each. you know, he is a class manager at club and international level. I guess maybe I'm hoping on behalf of Baggies fans, but I hope he says no, because he did a superb job at Fulham. Obviously moved on to Liverpool, it didn't work out. He's gone back to West Brom, he's done a fantastic job again. I hope he sticks with that and maybe sees if he can start pushing them up the table.
Well, you know what people would say about that? They'd say that that's not his level. If he can't handle a club like Liverpool, how's he going to handle the job like England? Whereas Fulham is a kind of 20,000 seater club. West Brom is a similar sized club, and that's probably his level. That's what people will say.
Well, he can clearly do it at that level. Only he will know whether, because he's been around a long time, so he's managed big clubs, he's managed Inter Milan, so he can manage England for sure. The question is for him at this stage of his career, is this what he wants? But from the FA point of view, it does feel a bit, Harry was the flavour of the month, the manager of the month 2 months ago. It's certainly English. Now it's Raw, and if another manager has a good 3 games remaining, if Terry Connor replicates how they were yesterday, is it his go? I'd like to see more consistency myself. I think Harry was the man 3 months ago. I think he's still the man today for me.
Okay, well, I was just looking at, when Harry beat that the court case, the tax thing, and, everybody said, right, Harry for England, Capello stepped down, and then we just thought it was a one-horse race. But you know what? I still feel like someone like Brendan Rodgers could step in for the summer and try and play that brand of football that he plays down there at Swansea. Do you think that'd be too big of an ask?
Hey, look, I think as things are, I'm not a pessimist. I think we can win because, we're one of the 16 teams in the competition. But I think we're going to have a really hard tournament, unsettled side. Who knows, who's going to manage it. So I'm up for trying anything. I don't think we can really lose. Brendan Rodgers, don't know, maybe a bit too soon. But in terms of thinking outside the box, I don't mind that. I guess in my dream world, and it's not going to happen, but, well, he said it's not going to happen, but, we've just been talking about Pep Guardiola. Now, wouldn't that be something?
Oh, no, you're not wrong with that. So the FA have asked West Bromwich Albion for permission to speak to Roy Hodgson about the vacant England manager's job. We'll be talking about lots more Premier League stuff just after the break. Welcome back. If you just joined us, there's some breaking news that the FA have asked West Bromwich Albion for permission to speak to Roy Hodgson about the vacant England manager's job. So that's all the news we have at the moment. Paul, good evening to you. Roy Hodgson for England, what do you think of that?
I don't mind Roy Hodgson, to be quite honest. I've got a bit of time for him. Let's not forget, he did well with Switzerland when he managed them, so he's done the international thing before, did well in Italy, took on a poison chalice at Liverpool, to be quite frank. But yeah, I don't mind Roy Hodgson at all.
What about your team? What a win. 4-0 against Newcastle. Wigan, Athletic. We must be delighted.
It's probably the best first half of football I've seen in 35 years of watching Wigan. So, yeah, can't argue with that.
Why the turnaround? Because there was a stage where we all said, oh, no, they're done for. Wolves and Wigan look like they're done for. They're out of it.
Again, can't argue. I'm one of those that thought we were as good as relegated, to be quite honest, at the beginning of the year. Then we went on to lose 5 more in January and we thought it was finished. I think the difference is, rather than change the manager, Dave Whelan did stick by him, and fair play to Whelan for that. What Roberto did after that point, changed the tactics, changed the system, changed the formation. Everything he had to change, he did do, changed half the team. And I think we're now seeing that all come to fruition, where the players now in that team are working with the system that suits them rather than trying to force them into a formation that Roberto wanted before that.
Well, you've got Blackburn and Wolves left. You've beat 3 of the top 4 in what lasted 6 or 7 games. If you don't stay up after that, then you've got no complaints.
But by the same token, we got beat at Fulham last weekend, so you never know. We'd be looking really with the form that we're in to get something at Blackburn and beat Wolves at home. So who knows, by next Monday night when we come to play Blackburn, a draw may do us based on the weekend results. Okay, Ewan posts on our Facebook page, I'm pretty sure Wigan could beat the 22-man super team comprising of players from Barca, Real Madrid, Manchester City and United if it meant avoiding relegation. Slight exaggeration there for me, but I'm going to just say that Jamie, a Villa fan, must be worried now. 37 points, thought it'd be enough. It looks like you're getting dragged into it. After today's results, I'm feeling a little bit better than I was this time yesterday, but there's 2 games, home to Tottenham next weekend and then away at Norwich City the following weekend. I can't see where the next win's coming from, to be honest. Yes, I am worried.
How big an impact is like Richard Dunn and Darren Bent being, you know, missing?
Oh, absolutely massive. I mean, if Darren Bent was still in the side, there'd be absolutely no question that he'd be going to Poland and the Ukraine this summer. No question at all. We've missed his goals absolutely massively. And when you compare the fact that our other first-choice striker, Gabriel Bonloho, hasn't scored since November, you know, it really kind of... it shows you what the problems that we're having. Richard Dunn as well, he's been out with a broken collarbone. Nice to see him back yesterday. Obviously a commanding presence in the defence there. And hopefully we can just crawl through the next 2 games and start fresh next year.
Jamie, what's your thoughts on McLeish? Because obviously he's, you know, he didn't do great with Birmingham. They went down under him, and now under your club, Villa, it looks shaky as well. What are your thoughts on him moving forward for next season?
Before I go any further, I'd just like to dispel any myth that we are annoyed about the fact that he came from Birmingham City, because the general support isn't. I don't think McLeish is a bad manager, if all truth be told. I just don't think he's the right man for Aston Villa, which is a shame. And you know, for the sake of the club and for the sake of him as well, I hope that they can make an amicable decision between the pair of them to part ways, because I don't think it's doing him any good either, to be honest with you.
Well, the Villa manager Alex McLeish spoke about the last remaining games.
It's hard, you know, in terms of where we're seeing Aston Villa at the moment and where the fans see them and expect them to be. But we've got 2 battles to go, and we want to try and get over the line and try and take as many points as we can in those 2 games.
Eniola, they have Spurs at home, Norwich away. Do you see them getting any more points?
To be honest, no. I think after watching yesterday's performance and looking at Tottenham and looking at Norwich, it's going to be very difficult for them to pick up maximum points from those two teams. When you look at the likes of Wigan in comparison to Villa, Villa just don't look like they've got any spark about them. So it's going to be difficult really for them, I think.
Well, let's just have a look at the bottom of the table, the scramble to stay in the Premier League. Wolves, as we know, have gone. Blackburn Rovers, Bolton, Queen's Park Rangers, they've got a tough run in. Stoke City and Man City for Queen's Park Rangers. I mean, it's still anybody's guess who goes down, though, Jamie?
Well, after today, I think we can probably safely say that Blackburn will be joining Wolves down in the Championship next season. But like you say, Bolton had a great result at Villa Park last week, and particularly in the manner in which they did it. You know, 3 goals in 2 minutes for both sides, and a good result yesterday. Well, a slightly resurgent Sunderland over O'Neill, even though those were the first goals that Sunderland had scored in the league this month. So yeah, I do agree. I don't think there's any more points coming Villa's way. I think it's just a case of praying that the other teams don't pick up any more either.
Yeah, I'm looking at QPR and I'm thinking Stoke away. I mean, they just drew with Arsenal yesterday, and then Man City at home, and you know that Man City have to win that game. So, I mean, it is really going to be tough. I mean, the only hope for Aston Villa, yes, is Norwich have lost 3 in a row, haven't they? They've lost their last 3 games. I think it's the first time under Paul Lambert that they've lost 3 games in a row.
I believe you're right in saying that, and I think the only hope that we can take from this is Norwich. Norwich have had a great season, so well done to them, and hopefully they'll be on holiday by the time we get to them, so it might be slightly easier. You know, I'm glad that we're not going to Manchester United or somewhere like that on the last day.
I think, Eniola, there was a game, I can't remember, it was just a couple of weeks ago, where Norwich, where Paul Lambert said, you know, well, I think we've got the required number of points now, we're safe, and then all of a sudden, the next 3 games, the Norwich players looked like they've switched off.
Yep. Yeah, well, sometimes managers jinx themselves when they say, you know, we're mathematically safe. You know, because at the end of the day, you've just got to keep playing until the last game of the season. That's what the players are paid for, to play until the last kick of the season. But I think ultimately Norwich probably don't have much to worry about when you're talking about in comparison to teams like Villa and Bolton and well, Wolves have already gone down.
Blackburn.
And Blackburn, sorry. Mm-hmm. So I think Norwich, you know, it'll be good for them to keep putting in performances, which will help them till the end of the season.
Alex, looking down on those people below you, them paupers who are heading for the Championship.
It used to be us.
You've been there. I can remember.
Absolutely.
And I've got an affinity. I can remember you going to Blackburn with, like, you know, and being in the old 3rd division, and you know, and then you got yourself back up there and beat Gillingham in the playoffs, etc. Anyway, you're on the verge of it, mate. But that last game away at home to QPR. I mean, if you can get there needing a win, you've got to fancy your chances.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you know, we've been excellent at home this season, won 16 out of 17. You know, trust me, if we need 3 points on that last day at home, especially against the Mark Hughes-led QPR side, we'll be winning that game.
I'll tell you what, I was down at Southampton yesterday, and it was a fantastic atmosphere. And I have to say that, you know, thoroughly deserved. They haven't been out the top 2 all season. Yeah. Just a quick word on them.
I mean, Nigel Adkins, what a manager. Maybe he should be the England manager. You know, Southampton did what we did when we went down to the 3rd tier, and that's back-to-back promotions. And there isn't that massive gap between those 2 tiers, certainly at the bottom end of the Championship. So if you can get promoted, that momentum, certainly for a big club like Southampton, you know, can carry you straight up. So, you know, fair play to them. Nigel Adkins, a great manager, and Ricky Lambert, next year's Grant Holt, I think. Yeah, well, the Southampton manager praised the club after his team were promoted to the Premier League.
A lot of people put a lot of hard work in. And for the players who are trying to get off the pitch now, because they're mobbed out there by fantastic supporters, they deserve all the plaudits they get, because they've been magnificent since I joined this football club. They work so hard every day, so professional, and the coaching staff have got, the medical staff, the sports, everybody at this football club wear their socks off.
Clive, deserved promotion. I know obviously you've got Cardiff to go up this season as well, but deserved.
Yeah, can I just comment, Mark, on that game yesterday? And I must congratulate you on your comments during the game.
Thank you very much.
To be quite honest, I thought in the first 20 minutes, I thought that they were a bit lucky, Southampton, not to be 2 down.
Yeah.
Because I thought the...
Well, they did play well. They absolutely did play well, but it's all going to go down to the playoffs. Jamie, in the playoffs, who do you think is going to win?
As long as it's not Birmingham City, I don't mind.
As long as it's not Birmingham City. Terrible. Eniola, playoffs.
Oh, I think I fancy West Ham.
You think you fancy West Ham?
Yeah.
I'm not sure a lot of people fancy West Ham.
I think they've got the experience of being in the Premiership for many years. Well, so are Birmingham, I suppose. But I think West Ham might edge it. I think they've got more sort of firepower going forward.
OK, well, thank you all this afternoon. Good luck to all those teams taking part in the Player Switch starts this week. We'll be back very soon. Thanks for watching.